righty then. Well, Vince, we're coming up. We're actually 32 minutes late because we wanted to finish watching the game because you you smiling and is there a broom back there in the back in the back of you? Do I see a broom?
No, 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 no broom, no
No,
broom yet.
no
When
broom.
I can get one
Oh,
tomorrow.
I mean, oh,
No
yeah, that's
broom.
right. There is a possibility
I
for
don't.
game 4 that the Cavs might show. I mean, like they did last year to keep from being swept.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't
I'm
think. I
Charles
don't think
Morse,
they're going to be
Vince
swept.
Carter, Coach Carter, where we come to you normally at 11 p.m., 10 o'clock his time. Youth Central Sports every Wednesday night at www.youthcentralsports.com. And because of the playoffs, and I think that is a broom back there in the back. I see in the back of you, but I'm not sure. But just finished watching the Warriors and the Clippers. Wow, same thing, same thing. The Cleveland
Same thing.
Cavaliers and they Golden State goes up 3-0, 3-0. So Vince, what you think? What you think of the game?
Well, coming in, I did earlier this afternoon. We were having a basketball camp. We had the campus things, and all the people were talking about Cleveland, 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 and I appreciate their ability to is indeed their choice to pick a team. But I made sure I have them to understand. I said, at home in tonight. Now, the possibility of Cleveland getting the next game, I think at some point in time, these guys came out and played good basketball. Cleveland did. They jumped out on them, but that Warrior factor, man, they rolled up and got the. I thought it was a good game, but look at it, still, what, 11, 12 points? Shot horribly from the three tonight, but team defense, that team offense, and Eagle Dollar was back. Still entertaining basketball, particularly to see Golden State come from behind, take the lead, and then close out the game. Good basketball, but I can't get too many of them right, but I got that one right.
Let me see. Kevin Durant had 43 points, and Steph actually had an off night. He only had 11 points, 3 of 16 shooting.
Yep,
So still
11 points.
they were able to pull off the win. You know.
But everybody else scored in double figures. Clay had 10, McGee had 10. So and but I think LeBron had 47, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he had 47.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
LeBron had 47.
Okay. Okay. Well, he needed 57.
Yes, he did.
But looking at this, I heard the guys talking about the game earlier today. Well, not necessarily the game. Well, they were talking about the game, but they were talking about the fact that there were very, very good chance that he is gone, that he is leaving Cleveland. Not quite sure. And I'll ask you this right here: how? Okay, if you are from Cleveland and you are a Cavaliers fan, how would you feel if LeBron left Cleveland again? How would you feel?
Well, if I would probably be thinking abandonment. I would probably feel that he doesn't have faith in the process anymore, and they probably would call him selfish. They're going to have a whole lot of bad things to say about him, but I 100% believe he's gone, win or lose. If they were to win the series, I think he's gone, and I definitely think if they lose, he's gone. A lot of conversation says he's going to L.A. There's been some conversation about him possibly going to Philadelphia, but I've been hearing more LA than anything else. So I think it's a foregone conclusion, personally.
wanted to ask you. Originally, I really was going to get to the basketball game, but the Jr. blunder, which he will
Mm-hmm.
be known long as there's air on earth and rain that fall. he, he will always
Yeah.
be known for that play.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, Vince, we as people on the outside, and I hope that I can say this correctly. People on the outside see these guys, and it doesn't matter what sport it is, whether it's hockey or baseball or football, basketball. But we sometimes have this notion that these guys are really any different than everybody else that plays this game because we think that they're on that level, that they don't make these mistakes, that they see things and understand things. But as I've gotten older and realized that the same challenges that you have as an AA coach, high school coach, you still have the coaches in on the professional level still have the same challenges because sometimes you see, well, not sometimes, a lot of times you be like, what the heck was that, and how did you blow that coverage, and what was going through your mind, because you see it all the time.
We might be talking about professional athletes and whatever you're talking about sport, but the thing of it is, it's the human nature. There's a human factor. A lot of times, I know for a fact in basketball, some of these guys' basketball IQ is not as high as their skill level. They're able to do some fantastic things with the basketball, but their ability to think this game through is not as high as we give them credit for. What they're professional because of the way they execute, not because of the necessary way they think. Now, whenever that goes together, we get a very unique product on the floor. It is unfortunate for Jr. that happened to him, but he came out tonight shooting the ball really well, trying to redeem himself. And I really believe if they had won this game tonight, we would talk even less about that situation in game one if they had won tonight. The fact that we did not that they win tonight, and it's going to keep it going. But there are those mental lapses that take place. I mean, and I don't know that anyone can really explain it. Sometimes you get caught up in the emotion of the game. As a coach, I stood on the sideline. And I have to tell you, I've got lost in the game a couple of times. You know, not knowing what the situation was because I'm so involved, or I'm thinking ahead, or I'm caught up in that actual action. I call it time the game was over. You know, everybody was looking at me like, "Excuse me, coach, what are you saying?" I need time. I see the game over. You know, I mean, so it can happen, but you don't expect in the championship game in a playoff with a team that's fighting to be involved in that at that level that he would make that mistake. LeBron said in his post game interview that without trying to the bus, that it's everybody's responsibility to know the score. Good point. 100% good point. And I just think JR, he just made a bad decision. The moment he got caught up in the moment. Perhaps he got overjoyed in getting that rebound and thinking, and I don't know. It's hard to say, but you just kind of surprise a professional athlete, and having been in the game before, having won championships and been on the championship team, he would not be as overwhelmed as he appeared to be. But you.
Well, I was gonna make a little joke, but I've always been disturbed by the fact that he doesn't like to put on a shirt. That just bothers the heck out of me. I don't know why. Cause, well, one, it's hard for me to deal with these athletes and their tattoos. That's another thing, because it's so just it's not appealing in the sense that it's just, I don't know, they look
Mm-hmm.
like they're from another planet. Sometimes with all these tattoos and stuff like that. That's just my own personal preference. They just look weird to me. But I always think in the terms of, because I can remember Barack was telling the coach, tell Jr. to put on a shirt. Tell him to put on a shirt. When they won the championship. Tell him to put on a shirt. And
Mm-hmm.
my thing is that for him, and the thing that he said, Vince, he said sometimes his young daughter had to put him in check. Now, mind you, like she's in elementary school. Now he said this that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes his daughter, his young daughter, has to put him in check. So I'm thinking, I'm like, man, you walk around with your shirt off, whatever that's about. But I wonder what it would be like when your daughter's about 16, 17 years old and she's going out on her first date and the guy that's coming to pick her up, you open the door and he's standing there with no shirt on. And he go like, hey, Mr. Smith, you my hero. I'm trying to be like you. Where's your daughter?
Yeah, I bet you. I'll bet you $100 that he'll have a different approach to that. I think he really has set a different standard for that. I guarantee you that that will not go over well. Now,
but
after
but
he, maybe
but
after he
if he's
gets to
saying
know
I'm
him, he might
emulating
be able to
you
use
and I don't want to wear no shirt, I'm here to take your daughter out. You walking around in public, you everywhere, you and like the next day he still hadn't put on his shirt. It's just like, man, come on, man, come on, you know.
But it's something about that parenthood that's going to change his mind when he starts looking at that young girl and hopefully putting in perspective who she is. He's going to have a different standard. But the people are going to hold him. They say, well, but Gerald, that's what you did. Yeah, and he'll come up with all kind of reasons for it. But I'm
Oh
telling
yeah,
you,
yeah.
he's
Well,
not going to want
that's
that
my
guy coming
point.
in that want to take his child out.
Right.
Yeah,
That's my point.
yeah.
I'm saying when he shows up, then all of a sudden that shirt thing is going to become something different. That's why I said it the way that I did. You
Totally
know.
different, 100% different.
Yeah. But
You're
but
100%
with
correct about that.
but the thing is, Vince, that I've seen players, and one in particular that I will always remember, and that is Earl the Pearl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you can play this game, when you're a superstar.
Right.
Because I've seen
Mm-hmm.
your boy Howard that played with the Fab Five. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
him get booed.
Jawan Howard.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen him get booed, and he looked like he was lost. He something happened.
Mm-hmm.
He came out the next game, and he was just flustered, you know. And every time I see something like this, I I remember Earl the Pearl, Vince, and I remember this game like yesterday. And it's funny because I talked to him about it. But when Earl the Pearl was traded from Baltimore to New York, right, and he went
Mm-hmm.
back to Baltimore for the first time, every time he got the ball, they booed him. Every time he touched the ball, they booed him. Vince, by halftime, was nobody saying nothing because every time he got the ball, he scored.
Mm-hmm.
So by
Mm-hmm.
halftime, was nobody in Baltimore saying nothing when he got the ball. And so it was like, oh, okay. So, and I also told him, I said, I also remember your very last game that you played and you scored 20 points. And he looked at me like, did I really? I said, yeah, your very last game you played in the NBA, you scored 20 points. And of course, he looking at me like, I guess I did. but, 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 I had a very interesting conversation with him, and I also had a very interesting conversation with Walt Frazier. And I will share that with you one day, and maybe we can talk about it on the show. But it was interesting to hear Earl the Pearl talk about when he first came to New York and what that was like, and what it was like when he first started playing with Frazier. And it was also interesting to hear
Mm-hmm.
Walt Frazier talk about himself and when he was talking about Michael Jordan. Nothing negative, but that
Right.
competitiveness,
Mm-hmm.
because Walt Frazier wasn't no joke, man. Walt Frazier was a player, you know. But it was interesting to hear.
Yeah, he was the guy. Walt
Right.
was my guy. I
Oh
was a
yeah. Oh
Walt
oh
Frazier
oh
fan.
oh. He is one of the few players that I've seen play this game that can play it. I mean, that played it and that can control the game on both ends of the court. And he played the
Mm-hmm.
sidelines very well defensively, like it was another player. He's one of the few players that had mastered that.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of players have
Yeah.
mastered how to use the sideline defensively like it's another player, like it's another man. And he mastered that.
And,
But it was interesting to hear his take and his comment when he was talking about Michael Jordan. He didn't say anything negative, but it was just interesting, and I'll probably share that with you one day. It was a very good conversation
yeah, I would
between
love
those
to
two.
hear that because Frazier is probably well known for his offense, but he really was a good defensive ball player. He had some very impressive stats from a defensive side. Oh, he scored a lot, and he was a floor leader. And off the court, he was very, very flamboyant and a conversation piece. But on the floor, he was about business. And I really enjoyed watching him play when he was
Oh, I
with
did.
the Knicks. I really thought that he brought so much to the game. He's one of those reasons that I fell in love with the game. Was because of the way he played it. And there are a few other athletes too who have probably heightened my passion for the game. But Walt was definitely one of them.
Definitely, definitely. The Knicks at that time with Bill Bradley, Dave DeBuscher. He played with Willis Reed,
Willis Reed, yeah,
Phil Jackson, your boy Dick
mm-hmm.
Barnett,
Yeah, Dick
Dimminger,
Barnett,
right? You know,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
all Bill Bradley, you know. So definitely, man, during that time they was a fun team to watch, and
yeah,
I've
no
seen
question.
them,
They brought a lot.
right. I've seen them with 2 minutes to go, and I remember that game. It was 2 minutes to go. They was down by 10, and within 2 minutes they made it seem like it was nothing to come back from 10 down with 2 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
you know, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But
Mm-hmm.
they were that was at that time when I really was getting into basketball and was watching it and starting to understand the game. So, but I wanted to
Yep,
ask you,
good fundamental ball play.
right? I wanted to ask you about your boy Clark, who passed away.
Oh, Dwight Clark,
Right.
the
Yes.
49ers. Right, right.
He was 61 years old. Had what is that?
Mm-hmm.
ALS, the Lou Gehrig's disease.
Right.
My
Mm-hmm.
father's wife died from that. I think in 2009, and she was only 5 years older than me, Vince. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was only 5 years older than me,
Mm-hmm.
and she died in 2009 from the same disease. So I saw it up close, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there isn't a cure for it, then I don't even think they know where. I mean, where it comes from. But
Right. Yeah.
here he is. He's he's known as the player, the catch, the catch. Had a
Without a doubt.
great, yeah,
Um,
and had a great.
it's how I remember him. And I was watching that game that day when he made that catch. And being a Cowboy fan, it was very disappointing without a shadow of a doubt. But it was one heck of a catch, one heck of a throw from Montana for him to get it, but even more so to catch it. And I think more than anything else that he had ever done, which he was a really good football player, that's really propelled him to I'll say fame, if you will, for anything else. But he was highly recognized for that catch,
Well,
and it's something I'll never forget.
the funny thing is they played a clip, a audio. I mean, I heard a clip yesterday. They was interviewing him as they was talking about that play, and he said that was
Mm-hmm.
a play that they practice on in practice. And he said every time that they would practice that play, Montana would either overthrow the ball or underthrow the ball, and they never got it right in practice. But on that play,
Uh,
he said Montana put it
yeah.
exactly where it was supposed to be in order for him to catch the ball. You know, and
Well, that's what professionals do. They may not practice well, but the mere fact that we've been practicing that particular play, that particular pass, that particular shot is the one of the reasons that you can almost count on it going in. Because we practice and practice and practice, and although we may have missed it, We are learning how to make it happen. And if it just stands to reason, all that on the table, how important that one pass was in that one game, that he would throw it where he could, because it wasn't a perfect pass, but it was a pass, it was a catchable pass.
Right.
And Dwight went up and got that ball because that ball was over his head. And the defender, I still think every time I look at it, I just think the defender reacted
Walls.
too late because I think he thought it was his head. And
It,
he thought the ball
Emerson.
was over his head, but he reached up and got it.
Well,
Reached up
the
and got
funny
it.
thing is, I've always, well, I tried to give this analogy, this thing about Brady and Montana. Okay, because I will say this right here: if you put Tom Brady in that game, Dallas would have won that game. If it was Brady in that game, Dallas would have won. And the reason why I will always give the notch, and I've always say this, and you acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
the scheme of the game of the Patriots, but it still
Mm-hmm.
goes back, and I will always say
Mm-hmm.
this because of how we are. We always give so much credit to the quarterback because of the position. But the reality of it
Right.
is because of what football is, and it's a team sport. And there are so many things that has to take place in order for so many things to happen. Brady is a great quarterback.
Well, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
Brady is a great quarterback, but I
Mm-hmm.
think his team is more great than what we give credit for in the sense of what they do to make him great. Because Brady,
Well,
when he's doing what he's doing, Brady is standing up. He's standing up. And I ask you this question, and I'm not a Brady hater, but I just hate that we don't acknowledge as a whole what it takes as a team to make him great, to make that team great, because that's what it is. It's a team effort. His offensive line, their schemes, is what make Brady great. And I ask this question to you, Vince. If you go back, and even on both sides of the ball of the Super Bowl, what throw throughout that game did Brady make that the average quarterback, if given time, would make? Was there anything that happened within that game that if you give the top six quarterbacks in the NFL the time to throw the ball, would they not make the same plays? And I'm not knocking Brady. I'm talking about the
I,
time that they gave him. The same thing on the other side, because they gave the quarterback time to make the play, to read the coverage, to see the receiver, to throw the ball. So I'm asking, was there any plays that you looked and you saw him make and you went like, wow? Was there did I mean, I know I'm asking, but do you remember
there,
any?
I, I don't ever think in a situation like that that is ever just one person. He has to throw the ball. In order for it to be a fantastic catch, someone has to catch it. In order for it to be a perfect pass, someone has to catch it. You can look statistically and see a number of quarterbacks who've thrown excellent passes on time in the right in the hand, and it's been dropped. It counts as a drop pass. And so what I think you look at is the fact that he has a great organization. They spent a lot of time working on their passing game. And what you found is he's got a great pass and catch situation. Great receivers run great routes. I think what they've done, their scheme fits what they do. I think, we say Brady this, Brady that. It's not just Brady. It's the offensive line. It's the blocking of the backs. And I think that's that entertainment value that we have, that because he is the quarterback, we put him at the top of the heap. That is all because of what he's doing. Now he plays an intricate part, but I think if you look at all of the factors that's put into that, it comes back to being a team sport. He's doing exactly what quarterbacks should do. It's just that I think what makes it look so perfect is because the cast, they're functioning at a high level. And the game scheme that they have, they do a very good job. Belichick does a very good job on his offensive game and defensive game plan. But offensively, Brady has enough time to throw. They run great patterns, and he throws a catchable pass. Now, is he any better than any other quarterback? I think he has some skills because of the amount of time that he's been doing it. But I do think there are other quarterbacks who have the same efficiency, just don't have the same group of players behind them that can get that done. But you've got to give him credit. He's in the right place at the right time with the right receivers and the right scheme. It works.
Oh
It
yeah, oh
works. I
definitely,
mean, you take
definitely.
him out of that,
But
would he be as successful in other systems? I'm not sure because it's going to depend on who he's throwing to. What are their strengths? Is the offensive line strong enough? Run. So that means you got to spend some money on an offensive line to create a pocket that allows him to take time to pick you apart. If that's not what they want to do, or that's not their focus, I don't know that he will be as successful because he needs time. He needs time to complete those passes. So it's unique to where he is. I thought Troy Aikman was a good passer for the Cowboys in the Cowboys system, and the way they put that together, it made him into a good quarterback. But you take him out of that, if that system doesn't actually fit him, I don't know that he's a great or a highly efficient quarterback. So I think it's about team.
right,
And
right,
that's
and
what
then
upsets me is sometimes if I was a Cavalier fan, a true
right.
Cavalier fan, I would be upset because they always preference the Cavaliers by LeBron James. LeBron James scored 47 points tonight. Did they win?
No,
No.
but
He
but
had a self pass and a dunk, and the whole world went crazy, but they didn't win.
but see, Vince, this is a conversation that I would love to have, and I would love to have it like where we're going now, and that is this right here. I truly, and again, I mean, I listen and I didn't play, professional ball, but I thought that I played. I thought I was good enough athlete that, I could have played baseball. I could have played. I mean, it's one of the most depressing things in the world is when you at that age, when you're in your early 20s, you've been playing competitiveness, competitive sports to a degree in which really it really is your life. I mean, at that stage, it really is. I had to transform into a whole nother world. They had to go over that grace period. But just to look on TV and you see a baseball player, you see a football player, you see a basketball player that you know that you better than. You know this. And so you're trying to understand how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know how to get there. But I say this to say this right here. Watching and understanding what it takes to compete. And when I was telling you before about how a lot of times you see things and you don't understand, especially on that level, like why don't you move your feet? Why don't you get back on defense? Why won't you make the effort? Da da da. Because that's not a skill thing, really. That's a mindset and an effort. And so I say this to ask this question about when we sit there, because I think to talk about Michael Jordan, to talk about LeBron James and those other guys in that sense about who was better this, better that. To me, no one. It's not Michael. It's not LeBron. It's who you put around them is going to make them successful. So when you look at the concept and what a team is, once you reach a level of skill and you honed it to that place where you can play this game in that area in which they mark off as the court, because there are certain people who don't have the athletic ability, but they have honed their skills into a level in which they can be dominant. Larry Bird was slow. Larry Bird couldn't jump. Larry Bird was not a lot of things, but he honed his skills enough within that game itself that he was dangerous. And so when you look at these us as we like to sit and go back and forth between who was this and who was that, none of that really matters once you reach a certain level of skill level. To me, it's who is your supporting cast, because you ain't gonna do jack but put up numbers until you get the right supporting cast. So it's your supporting cast. As Charles Barkley, there's been so many. I can ask you right now, and I know you can answer me. Give me 10 great basketball players that you know that was great that never won a championship. You can roll them off. You know that they could play, you know? And so when we sit here and we go back and forth and we talk about this, we talk about that, and it's great to talk about how great they was and how cool it is and all of that. But the bottom line was, who was the supporting cast? Who did they build that team around? Because before Michael was Michael, he was playing. Did he win anything? Was he competitive? Yes. But did he win? No. It wasn't until they brought this player, this player. Any player, if you ask me, they say, okay, if you're going to start off any team, what player would you pick? I don't even have to think about it twice. It would be Kareem. Because to me, it makes everything easier. Kareem would be like the first player I would pick without even thinking about it twice. I don't know who your first player would be, but Kareem would be my obvious choice, understanding the game, you know? So with that being said, I mean, I said a lot, but to me, it's not there's so many great players. It's your supporting cast, which what you was talking about before when it comes to team. Now, if you talk about a tennis player or
Well,
something one-on-one, that's different.
well, this is a team. You're talking about a team sport that really you're only as good as you are as your team is, and how your supporting cast operates. You look in football, you know, we don't expect a center or a guard to make a touchdown. His job is to protect. When they come in and do that, that makes that other person's job a whole lot easier. And I think you have to look at coaching. You have to look at skill development, player development. You have to look at drafting. You have to look at team. When these guys put these schemes together, they go out and get players that fit that scheme. And that's one of the things Belichick does a real good job. I'm necessarily a Patriot fan, but I like what Belichick is able to do. He has a scheme. He goes find the players that fit that scheme, and then they come in and execute at a high level just within the parameter of what they do. So a lot of credit has to be, and I think only pure sports people can have a great appreciation for high quality teams, where other people look at that team being entertainment. And they got a great quarterback, or they got a running back that's scoring he's rushing for 1,000 yards a year and all of that. And don't get me wrong, I mean that's fantastic. But what they fail to realize is all the moving parts that go into that guy being that 1,000 yard rusher. Now, yeah, he's got to be able to. If they open the hole, he got to be able to get through it. And sometimes he's gonna have to pick up those 4 or 5 hard yards. That's individual skill. But he can't get anything until we get him in the hole. We got to get him out the first, and before he can use his skill. So it is that team thing, and I think these kinds of sports, basketball, football, baseball, it's not about one person. Soccer, a polo, all of it, it's a team effort, and I think we get excited because of entertainment. But when you work with sports, you be in sports, you've been a sport, you understand the value of team play. And one of the conversations I was having I had 2 days ago, I would love to sit with Steve Kerr and try to have him explain to me, how do you get these guys to perform at the level they're performing, where they're unselfish, and their ultimate goal is just to win. Is it something you said? Is it something you're doing? Is it the type of people you selected? How did that happen? Because that does not happen all the time. And what people are trying to do is duplicate what they see in the Warriors. Very hard time doing it, because they're looking at the three. It's not the three. It's the 12. It's the 12. McGee sits on the bench, doesn't play at all. And then he come in and score 10, 12 points. And he said, I worked hard to make sure I was ready when I was called on. And see, and that's a mindset. That is something that you don't find every day. So, going to your point, I would love to sit with Steve Kerr and say, what do you say to these guys? How have you convinced them that you are going to be on this team? Your role is this, and when I call for you, you need to be. But I might not use you for 9 or 10, 12 games. But when I call you, I expect you to perform at that level, and they go out and do that. That's that team effort. That's getting the right people to do and play their part. It's a skill to it. So you got to give these gyms a lot of credit for picking the right players, getting the people who come in and fit their mindset and their mission. It's a lot of moving pieces, and it's not as simple as sometimes fans make it out to be. Not a Tom Brady team; it's the Patriots. It's not LeBron's team, although he's doing all the work in many cases. But without even that, I mean, you got to have team around you. So I 100% support that. I'm a true believer in team effort. I've been a part of teams that have been very successful. I've been a part of teams that have not been successful. And when you look in terms of that, you find that we are not committed to our roles. We are not committed to the team concept. We get that individuality and stuff. So those things are normally those little habits that sneak in and hurt us. So you got to give credit to the team, and a lot of times it's not only is it the coach and his coaching staff drafting. It's the people out there who out there scouting and saying, hey, the kid we need to have and put him on our team because he fits our philosophy. He does what we want him to do. He'll do that. So it's not just that easy. It really is not. I guess sometimes I'm offended when you talk LeBron and the Cavaliers. It's the Cavaliers, and LeBron is a part of that. Yeah,
Right.
he leads them, if you will, but in the terms of he's the best scorer. I mean, but are they winning? They're 3-0 right now. I mean, and they're gonna turn this into he had a fabulous night. No, you're 3-0. I don't care if he scored 98 3-0. So what do you say? I mean, these other guys came to play. They played hard. They got outplayed.
Right.
They got outplayed. And said, but they're gonna still try to twist this that LeBron is Superman. Well, you got a hole in his cake. That's one thing I want to let them know. You got a big old hole in the cake.
Well, it's
So
well, Golden State got some kryptonite.
kryptonite.
And
But that's a
then
great point when you look at
now
team versus
now
individual.
now if he gets swept, Vince, oh my goodness, if he gets swept, because he already done lost 4-1 once, but if he gets swept, mm, mm, you know,
Well, the media are going to lose their mind. They're not going. I don't even know if they're going to be able to write columns and meet their deadlines because they're going to find every use in the book to defend him going and getting swept. They're going to still say he's the greatest it ever. He's this and he's that and all of that. But the mere fact of the matter is that he went out and put forth one heck of an effort and it did not come up successful. We got to accept that. We got to give Steve Kerr and his staff and team credit for what they're able to get done.
well,
And it doesn't matter whether you like them or not.
well, see, actually, Vince,
But that's the true sports. That's the true sports enthusiasts that would look at that. Fans are not like that.
right? Yeah,
Fans
but
are
see,
uh,
Vince, we have short memories though. It's like we remember now, but the reality of it is that as much as well, let me say this about LeBron. He has always frustrated me, and I think you said it that he came into the league being called King James, and he hadn't earned anything. So they
hadn't
already
earned
had
it.
awarded him something in which he had not earned. So
Correct.
I'm looking at this guy, and it's hard for me anyway because it's hard for me to deal with these guys nowadays because they're not athletes anymore; they're rock stars. So our society has
Mm-hmm.
made them bigger than life itself, and so
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to adjust to that. The whole social media and who
Mm-hmm.
we have made them out to be, and all this other stuff. So it's hard sometimes understanding from where I came. And then the other part of that too is to look at the game itself and what they have done and how they have watered it down, both in the NFL and the NBA. Okay, now they're trying to do the same thing to baseball. It's just like it's always has to be fan friendly, something to make more money, to try to get the fans something, whatever it is. So to me, they've watered it down to the point. I even ask you, like, where else you gonna go and can you play this game the way that they play it? Because they don't play this game like this, you know. And then understanding this part of it too, and this is what I mean. Watching, observing, and I was talking about LeBron. To me, when they won the championship against Golden State, that was the finally when I started to respect him as a player, because he finally started stepping up to be that player which he was
Mm.
always labeled. Because until then, I was sitting there looking like he would have these mental breakdowns. He would throw up these balls. The ball looked like it's going to chip some paint off the rim. He would do something that you just look. And then that thing that when he went to Miami, that whole thing like that, and it just. But finally, he started to play the last. What was that? It's going on the third year now since they won that. He's starting to play like he's that he can be put in that category of a really great player. But it wasn't until then, because he kept having all these mental, whatever you want to call it, these, I don't even know, because sometimes I would be shocked and be like, but the thing is, Vince, watching the game, I knew it was coming. That he was gonna have at least 2 or 3 a game, and you'd be like, "What the heck was that?" And you just knew it. You know, whether it, like, I've seen him throw up an air ball from like 3 feet from the basket, and if not, he gonna do something LeBron like, and you be like, and you understand that he's a nice guy. At first, I was really having issues with that Miami thing, but I know he's a nice guy. But he's part of this generation now, their mindset and who they are. But he's a nice guy. I like the way he carries himself off the court and even on the court. But this generation of athletes now, man, it's just like, ugh. But I say this to say this right here. Observing the game, this is what I was really trying to say through all of this that I just said. This game has changed. The games in which I watched growing up, it was to me more competitive from the standpoint that there was better teams in the league. And the path in which you had to travel, the game was different. It was more physical, and to me, it was more competitive. And so I can't look at it any other way than the signs of the time, because the games have changed. And so they try to compare this, but I'm saying, well, they go, well, which game were you talking about? Because I would never want to compare this game that they're playing now to anything, because it it has taken a step back. It sucks. But that's just my opinion.
I think first of all, one of the key factors to LeBron, let me address that first, is LeBron is maturing. He is starting to grow up just as if he had and played at the collegiate level and matured through that. And now he's what, 15 years in the league. And let's look at that. That's 4 years of college. But he would have gotten, because he got out of high school. Let's say he played 4 years of college. And now these other 8 years or 9 years or 10 years, he has been experienced on the floor. He's growing in his conversation, his mindset has changed. I think he's feeling the pressure, perhaps self-imposed, but nevertheless the pressure. He's growing up, and this is what people will talk that. What the changes that I see, he's just maturing. As it looks to the game has changed, because the way the game used to it was too damaging to players. There were too many injuries that was taking place. It was starting to take away the value of the game. It was rougher back in those days. Yes, teams, there was more equality in teams, because you weren't moving people around from team to team to build quote unquote. So all of that has changed. The 3-point was not there. Hard fouls in the paint, that away because of what it was doing to the game. And the game a question. It couldn't stay the same. A lot of people don't like the game that they have today, and I understand that, but it had to grow. Each one of these games have to grow, or it can't be competitive. And now that's the marketing side. That's the business side. I can't keep going to the field it is with the same product because now my customer is not interested anymore. It's costing me to put this on, and I got to balance that out. But also to keep the game interesting, find ways to keep that customer involved as well as the players itself. So unfortunately, there are certain parts about the game that I don't like, but I do understand it's necessary to keep the game relevant. Because I tell you another thing that sometimes we don't think about is those players going back to our youth were different, were 100% different than they are. They were more committed to the game of basketball. They were more committed to their skills than these guys are today. Because what these guys, a lot of guys, and we got guys that are committed now too. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of these young players endorsements they can get. What's the perks of being on this team and how much money I'm being paid and what I can do with it. But you still got those guys who are committed, who work out every day, who keep themselves in tip-top shape and continue to work on their game. That's what I hope will mature on and we get more of those players. We've gotten lazy. The European player has come over here and become a topic of conversation because of what they're doing. And having been involved in a little bit of that, they work hard. I mean, they really put in the time to be a player. They're not flashy. Most of them can't. We just starting to get a few that can jump. I mean, really get up and jump and dunk the ball, but they shoot the ball well. They're good fundamental basketball. So the evolution is taking place. I'm not necessarily saying it's good, but it is taking place. That's why for me it's hard when you say, well, can you compare LeBron to Michael? But I don't. You can't. I really don't think there's any comparison except you may like Michael more than you like LeBron. You grew up in the LeBron era and you don't know the Michael Jordan era. Because for me right now, perhaps I'm biased. I think overall right now, if we compare them to today, person, I'm a Michael Jordan. And I think I just like Mike's approach to the game. He played the game. You mentioned earlier, Mike was in Chicago putting up 30, 40 points a night. And then when they brought Pippen in and some of Paxson in and all some of these other guys, a supporting staff, then Mike started winning. Another factor to consider. Back then in the old days, they waited for a while before they broke a team up. You know, this is mature. They let that coach build chemistry, let that coach do some submit with his staff to get. We don't have that today. We microwave mentality.
Yeah.
Three on the floor. I don't care who the other two are, and I expect us to win. Different era, so it's so much different. It is so much different.
Yeah, very, very, very different. One of the things too that they were
Still a good
talking
game,
about.
man. Don't get still love this game to death. I'm 100%. I don't always like some of the weird, but I still love this game. I think it's one of the purest games out there. And I'm a huge football fan, but I fell in love with basketball, and to have me to work with it, you know, is big.
One of the things that I would like to do is I would like to ask you this is for another show, and that is would like to talk about what it was like to coach 20 years ago, 15 years ago, to what it's like coaching now. Would definitely
Oh, it's totally different.
Yeah, no, I would love to
Yeah,
definitely
that's
have
100%. Yeah, that is different. Trust me, that's different.
Yeah.
Now you talking about comparing something. We might not be able to accurately compare LeBron to I guarantee you, we can talk about coaches because I guarantee that is a huge difference.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons, and I would love to talk about it during that show. But we can finish up on LeBron, but he was in the news because of the video clip. Did you see the video clip of when the blunder took place with J Jr. and they were talking about how Kyle Coburn was the one who can say we can still go out and win, but I think it was 90 seconds of silence. The body language was saying, it's over. And I'm thinking in the terms of what they were saying that he's supposed to be a leader. But again, if you're in the moment and understanding that you still have 5 minutes of overtime to play this game, you're soaking on a play that is now over. Now you're getting ready to go into overtime. But it seems in which all of the conversation was about was he was he just couldn't get out of that moment of
Mhm.
what JR did. And so with that
Yeah,
being
that was
said,
extreme disappointment.
right. So with that being said, they came out in overtime and they just didn't have it. And I was thinking to myself, and I wondered how, and I don't think it's fair, but I wonder how Michael would have handled that. Because to me, I
I can
think
tell you how
Michael
Mike
was
would have
more
handled that.
competitive. Michael would have said, "Okay, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go win this game,"
No,
versus sulking and being
I'm
pissed
gonna tell you.
off.
Yeah, Mike would have said, "Give me the basketball. Y'all get out the way. I got it from here. We gonna ride. We gonna live or die right now. Don't worry about it. I got this." And
Right.
that's the difference in them right there. And Mike didn't complain as much as I see LeBron complain about, situations on the floor. He's always crying about a foul, and he fouls more than anybody and push off every time he drives to the basket. And yet they want to make excuses for that. So uh, different. I'll just chalk it up as being different. Um, it's a different game. It's a different mindset. It's a different player. Different skills are required now than it used to. Although it's still skill game, but I think we focus on different skills. I give you an example. You walk in the
Okay.
gym, and I think this is true in most high schools. You walk in and everybody wants to shoot a 3-pointer. You don't see very many players working on their free throws, and most players don't shoot throws very well. But they walk in the gym and they're being influenced by what they see at the collegiate, well, more so, not even collegiate, more so at the NBA level. And we're trying to teach kids that, yeah, okay, that's great for the NBA, but you're not in the NBA. And the way you playing, you're not going to get to the NBA. So you need to take another look at this thing. So that's just the influence of the league. The league is changing. It is, and I don't like it, but sometimes it seems like it's becoming an entertainment league. But they got to do what they got to do. But there's no excuse for players not being committed. I don't care how entertaining they want to make it. You still got to be committed to the game, and that's what I think I see. And Golden State is one of those teams. They're committed to the game. They're committed to getting out there and getting it done. And they play good defense. They play team defense. I love their offensive scheme. They got great weapons, but they got 5 guys that can hurt you. Now, that doesn't happen on many teams.
Right. Right.
5 guys can bring the ball up. 5 guys can score. 5 guys can play defense. They can run transition. Fast break, whatever you want to do. That's an unusual situation.
Okay. Well, are you ready for the 3 minute sprint?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the sprint.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Give me 3 basketball coaches you respect the most.
Collegiate, professional.
It doesn't matter.
Wood. Oh my God. Um, the Wizard of Inglewood.
Okay.
Ooh, golly, on a blank right now.
Okay.
Come back to me on that one.
All right. Give me 3 football coaches you respect the most.
I was a Tom Landry fan and a Jimmy Johnson fan, and I was a Don Shula fan. Those are 3 guys. I may not have been a big fan of Don Shula's, but I had a great deal of respect for what he was able to get done.
Okay.
And of course, Jimmy Johnson and then of course Tom Landry. I was a huge Cowboy. Those 2 Cowboys. I was big Cowboy fans for those guys.
What What was your first car that you owned?
Nissan. It was a Nissan 150 station wagon.
How old were you when you learned how to change your tire?
To drive,
No, how old were you when you learned how to change a tire?
16,
Okay. Uh, how old were you when you got your first ticket?
16.
The best movie you ever saw at the drive-in? Oh, you going way back now.
Never saw, never. Yeah, you're going way back. I don't remember.
Okay.
I actually don't remember seeing any movie I was fond of in the drive-in.
Oh, it's probably because you didn't see the movie.
That's probably exactly right. Without indicting myself, yeah, I didn't see the movie.
do, you, do you do you watch the WNBA?
Yes,
Best female basketball player you've ever seen?
Candace Parker,
Best female basketball player you ever played against?
a girl by the name of Voncio Williams out of Daytona Beach, Florida. Went to Campbell High School at the time. One of the best female players I have ever seen play this game. And went on. In fact, she's coaching now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. Okay. Last question before we all have one. What is your most heartbreaking loss as a player?
Championship game. Championship game. I lost. We lost by 1 point with 2 seconds on the clock.
That was who? What? Where?
That was in AAU basketball
Oh yeah.
for a national
All right.
championship. For a national championship.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we
Lenny
we
Wilkins was one of my favorite. Lenny Wilkins was one of my favorite coaches. John Wooden was my other one, and I used to be a huge fan of Pat Riley.
remember I told you that I was friends with John Bagley, who played. Actually, he
Hmm.
played in Cleveland. He played with Boston. He
Right.
played with Larry Bird. And them. He told me that Lenny Wilkins was his favorite coach. Was his best coach that he ever had.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Lenny was a player's coach. He was a player's coach. I had a great affection for Bill Russell, although he was a player coach, which was a little bit different
right,
back in the day. But these other guys, man, I just like the way they ran their teams, the control that they had, and Steve Kerr and Pop rising up on my chart too. I've always been a Pop fan,
right.
just because of the way I like the way he does things. But Steve Kerr has gained a lot of respect too for what he has out there as well. But those other guys are my favorites.
Right. Well, question before we end. We're coming to the end of the show. Do you think that the Cavs
Hmm.
are going to be swept? I still think that's a broom back there in the back of you. I'm looking.
No, it's not a broom. Not this time. I honestly don't believe they're going to be swept. I really think that they're going to win. Not that I want to now. I'm okay if we sweep them. If Golden State goes in there and sweep them, I'm excited. But I believe that they will. I think they'll win this will be a very, very close game. This next one at home, but Golden State will take it when they get home. When
I
they go back,
think
to, I don't think they're gonna come back.
you know what? I think that the Warriors would just love it if they could just sweep them, and it would be and because it's LeBron, I think there's a very good chance with this team that LeBron has. I think they're going to be swept, Vince. Seriously.
I mean, if you look at tonight's game, you would have to come kind of put that into your equation. They came out on fire, jumped out on the lead, and they gave it up and got behind and never got back in the game.
Yeah.
So it makes you believe that it is very, very, very possible and probable that they may get swept. I'm
Well,
thinking I expected them to play better tonight, but I had said coming in that they would lose this game. that Golden State would take this and then they would regroup and come back and win the second game at home. Now, I'm okay if that doesn't happen. I would be perfectly fine with a sweep. And because I want to hear what the media, how the media is going to play this out.
Well, well,
They're going to
Paul,
fault the rest of Cleveland
I
and
out of
crown
all the
LeBron.
people on the set, Paul Pierce said that everybody else said
Yeah.
that Cleveland was going to win. He was the only one that said that Golden State was going to win tonight. So, but
Well, I think he had predicted that they would be swept. They would be swept.
right, right, right. So
He
I'm
he predicted that. I didn't believe that, although I'm more believing it now after what I saw tonight. The possibility becomes very, 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 very clear that this could be real.
now I will say this right here: if Golden State does not have a letdown and think about going back home, and if that game is like within 4 points of the fourth quarter, they're gonna win it. Because if it's not a blowout game where they just say, I'm calling it quits tonight, and we're gonna let Cleveland have their little thing. And if Golden State says, you know what, if that game is like a 2 or 3 point or a 8 point game going into the fourth quarter, Golden State gonna win that game. And that's just me.
I would
I'm
think if
just
I'm
making
if
that. I'm just making that prediction because if it has to be a blowout game. If it's not a blowout game, the Warriors will win it. So that's what I'm.
well, I think Steve Kerr is going to be preaching to them. Let's play our game. Let's go out and do what we do. We don't care where we win it at, whether it's our court, their court, or neutral court. Let's go get this. Let's go out and play this fourth game to win it. And if they would sweep them on their home court, that would be great for me. I think it would be appropriate for the situation to beat
Okay.
them right on their home court and celebrate in their house. I mean, no disrespect to Cleveland, but I think that'd be fantastic.
And you will see LeBron walk off the court as he did last time, took off his jersey, and
Yep.
and the next time you see him in a Cleveland jersey is when they building the statue out front.
No, you won't see him in Cleveland jersey. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the next time you see him, he'll be in a Laker jersey out there in L.A. Skinning and grinning with me.
Yeah,
That's what you're going to. He's at the podium now, trying to explain what happened tonight, or at least give his version of it.
yeah,
And one of the things I will say about him now, he's not throwing he's doing a real good job of not throwing his teammates under the bus. He's accepting responsibility. In some cases, we all know it's not him, but he's accepting that's the maturity I spoke about. He's growing up
right.
and he's starting to be that player that we were talking about. But I still want him to lose.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're gonna pull out the brooms and see.
Yep,
It, I mean,
yep.
because
It's very.
we already know who's gonna win the series, and wow,
I don't want Golden State to play with this. I want them to assert their dominance. You're down 3-0. Go ahead and close it out. Take advantage of the opportunity. Uh, uh, he's in that. Look what they do in the media. LeBron 10th career NBA final triple W most of all time. Do I care? And you 3-0.
oh,
I mean, I mean,
he's 0-3. Yeah, I mean he's down 3-0. Oh, he
yeah.
actually
But
had
but
33
we're
points.
concerned because
Yeah, he had
who's
33
that?
points. Vince, he had 33.
Yeah, he had 33 points, and Durant had 43.
Right.
But you want to tell me how many triple doubles he's had? I don't care. He's 3-0. Those triple doubles have not counted for anything right now. But want to keep him up there in front of on the billboard. As I mean, listen. Let's be honest. I mean, he played well, but it wasn't well enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to say, let me see, what is this? So next week we will get to talk about the Warriors being the NBA champions.
I think so. I really, I think that's what we're going to. I'm trying to make sure I got my Warrior gear on. Uh,
Yeah,
I'll be out there get my Warrior gear on.
yeah. Well, hopefully so. Well, with that being said, I want to say, and Vince and I want to say thank you so very much. And you know, Vince, I see you on Twitter once in a while, man.
Yeah,
You
every
know,
now and then I pop up on there. I do a little tweeting every now and
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't tweet as much as I probably should or could, but I'm warming up on it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you can hit Vince up on Twitter. You can also,
Yep.
you can hit us both up on Twitter. You can also email us for questions and comments. So
Hmm.
we got some other things coming up. I told you about a week ago I had a surprise for you. I was working on that, trying to get that surprise for you while you was here, but I wasn't able to work it out. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on that
Okay.
surprise for you. So I'm not gonna tell you what it is.
All right.
I was trying to do it while you were here, but it just didn't work out. So, but anyway,
Believe
we
me, I
will be back.
understand.
Huh?
I say I understand.
Okay. All right. Well, oh, you know what? I didn't get the update on your knee. You got to give us an update before we get out of here.
We're doing well. Spent a lot of time this week doing the basketball camp, and we really put some testing on the knee, and it held up well. Overall, 3 days of basketball camps and team practice, and absolute long days. Something I had not done since February, and it definitely took its toll on me. But the knee held up very well.
Okay,
I'll
I'm
be
sitting here.
testing it again this weekend. Going up to Kentucky for a team camp. So I got another 3 days. This time to be a little bit different, a little easier, I think, overall. But nevertheless, it is proven to be holding up really well.
Okay, I'm sitting here looking at an email, and it says I sent you an email, and it's for you to download a link, and it's going to expire soon if you don't download it because it's a big file. Did you see where I sent you a link to download? It's from P
How
Cloud
recently did you
Transfer.
do that? Oh yeah, you know what? I had actually read that.
Yeah.
If I'm not, if that's the article I think you're talking about, I had actually read that article. Oh no, I'm sorry, I had actually seen that video.
Okay. Okay.
If you're
Well,
talking about the one about the,
that was for you to have. That's where you can have it. It's a physical where you can
oh,
actually
okay.
it's a physical file that you can put on your computer and it's yours.
Okay, I need to go back and look at that then, because I was
Yeah.
I need to check that again.
Yeah. So that's the actual video itself. So that would be your video.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
I gotta look and make sure I kept that. I'll follow up on that.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm Charles Morris and with Vince Carter. We want to thank you for joining us here at Youth Central Sports. You have yourself a blessed week.